Welcome to Human Face Proportions. Today we are going to draw a human face, and we're going to use a couple of things: a ruler, a pencil, and you're going to follow the step. Each step that I tell you is going to build on the last step, so that eventually you are going to have some very high quality things that look like, after this video, it should look like this. This is a face map, and you're going to be labeling all of the things with it. Now, the next video, we'll talk more about all of the different details on the face, but today we're going to start with the skull. Did you know that the human skull, in order to make it exactly proportional, can be broken into thirds? So today I'm using a circle template, but you're going to notice that my circle, I have drawn it exactly 2.5 inches around, diameter. So 2.5 inches, right? So this is 1 inch, 2 inch, and half. Halfway between the 2 and the 3 is the half. So we need to know exactly where the middle of this circle is. So right at 1.25, we're going to put a little line, and then I'm going to check it this other direction to make sure that I'm figuring out exactly 1.25 this way. Now, if you notice, I line it up 1.25 this way. I didn't have this quite in the middle of the circle, so I can extend that, and bingo, X marks the spot. That is the middle of that circle. The reason that I'm making it 2.5 inches is very specific for when we draw the eyes. Please make sure you are making your circle 2.5 inches across. Got it? Now, during this, you're going to be drawing a lot of lines that will later be erased. So make sure that you are drawing lightly and drawing dash marks when I draw dash marks. So I'm going to line this back up. Now, since our skull is broken into thirds, this right here, this top half, this is 1/3, because we don't have a circle head, right? We're not an emoji. We have an elongated, almost like egg-shaped. So here's the first third, this is the second third, and this is the third third. So down here, we need to add another 1.25 inch. So if we do like this, we know that that's 1.25. Wait, I forgot to draw the median line. We need to draw a median line, which is right down the center. So let's draw a median line. And the median line, which is the middle of your skull, we're going to draw straight up and down, and we're going to make that into a very nice dash line. Why a dotted line, you say? Because I do not want to see it later on. I need to erase it. So we're going to draw it just a dotted line to know that that is not going to stay on your face. Then we're going to add the bottom third. So if this is 1.25, then I can move that down, and you can see that that is 1.25. So I need to get another 1.25 at the bottom, so I can know exactly where the bottom of my skull is. Now, what is at the bottom of your skull? That's your chin. So this will become the chin. I like to make it a curved line, and that's so that you can remember that chins are curved. If for some reason students like to make pointy chins, but really that makes you look like a snow cone. So here is some notes for this particular part. We're going to write notes because this is how in art we take notes. So this, I'm going to just do a big little kind of parentheses. This is the skull, which can be broken into thirds. Remember, you need to label all of your notes. The circle, we're going to draw a line to the bottom point where the chin is. Now this is a dotted line because this line is not going to stay here. So I'm doing a dash line. So you can remember that's going away later. Notice how I'm lining it up on the outside edge of the circle, right? What this is going to do is kind of help you whenever you are drawing the jawline. You're going to be able to tell if it's as far away from the other side. Like, it kind of helps you be able to tell if you're symmetrical on both sides. Now, when you draw the jawline, you need to start from the outside edge of the face. The skull, you go straight down. Notice how I'm not curving inward. If you start curving inward too close, you're going to look like an alien. We don't want to look like aliens. We want to look like humans. So we're going to go straight down on both sides. So I can put that, and then I can draw this. Now, at this point, you can create whatever jawline you want. I didn't go very straight on that. Your jawline is going to be different depending on your genetics. And just like your genetics, you are not fully formed. So at this point, maybe I should change this to adult or grown person human face proportions, just so you know that we're not learning children or teenager human face proportions. So if your face proportion's not ready yet, there you go. Now, so this is where you start, like some people have a sweetheart chin, some people have an oval face, some people have a really square jaw. This is where you're going to curve it toward one another very lightly, and you're going to try and match it on both sides. What I like to do, I like to take a little piece of paper because it's easier than measuring, and I'll go straight across right here. And I say, okay, from here to here, that's how far away my jaw is. I can move that over, straight over, and say, okay, my jaw line needs to come in right here. So that needs to line up right there. And then I can move down. I can say, okay, from here to here, I can move straight across. My jawline needs to meet up right there. So it's kind of giving me little measurement points where I can curve it and make sure that it's the same on both sides. But really, you just have to kind of double check. You can measure with the ruler if you like to measure. I'm not a fan of measuring if I don't have to. I just use a little piece of paper. At this point, you are ready to erase all the lines except the median line. So we're going to go ahead and label the median line right here. Median, which means middle, median line. So we're going to put that there. Now we're going to erase everything on the inside. Now we have the outside of our skull drawn. Please don't erase the outside of your skull. Just erase the bottom of your circle and the snow cone. You need to keep the median line. You need to keep the outside edge. So it should look like that. Erase. Now we need to put the eyes. Most students put their eyes in the middle of their forehead. I don't know why, but your face is actually pretty low. Let's look at a picture of a person. This is really quick. Your face is this much, right? The top of your head is covered with hair up here. So if you put your eyes in the middle of your forehead, it'll be way up here. So halfway down is where your eyes actually go. So since we can measure this little guy right here, now what you're going to notice is that your ruler, we are at 3 inches and 3/4 of an inch. Now, I don't know about y'all, but quarters of inches makes my brain explode, and I don't want to have to find the center of between 1 and 3 3/4. What I want to find is the center between 1 and 4, because what's the middle of 4 is 2, right? What's half of 4 is just 2. That's way easier to find. So let's line this up. Let's make this easier. Notice how at the bottom, at the 3/4 mark right here, there is 1, 2, 3, 4 little sections right here, inside here. So if I move up 2, then that's going to make this 2 be in the center, because there's going to be 2 at the top and 2 at the bottom. So I'm going to move this up 2 little hatch marks. You see how the bottom of my chin is now level with that little dot right there, right? So now I've got 2 extra on the bottom. If you look at the top, I've got 2 little extra at the top. So that makes my number 2 be right in the center. Now that's a little trick that I figured out, and I decided to pass along with my students, because if you make the 2 in the middle, if you figure out a way to make the 2 in the middle, it's way easier to split 4 1/2 than 3 3/4. Just saying. So here's the halfway line. Now whenever I'm drawing the eye line, I'm actually going to line up my ruler on the edge of the paper so that it's really straight, because you want your eye line to be very, very straight. So when I look at the edge of my paper, I have to create a very straight line. I'm making sure that this is lined up really straight. And whoops. And then I'm going to put my eye line, which is straight across like that. Because your eyes, I'm going to label this, are halfway down your skull. Eyes halfway down your skull. So you have to make sure that that's labeled. Then we're going to put a line for where the nose is. It's just a nose line. It is not the actual nose, okay? We're just drawing a map for the face. So your nose rests on top of a halfway point. So between here and here, we have to figure out the halfway point, right? So when I line this up on that line, it is just over just under 2 inches. You see how there's two little hatch marks here? 1, 2. How can I center? What's half of 2? 1, right? So if I can center this, move it up one little bit. So now there's 1 below and 1 above, right? So that makes my 1, which is half of 2. That is where my nose is going to rest. And I made it a little high. So this right here is where the nose has to rest on top of it. So when we label it, we're going to put a little line that points to the nose. The nose rests on top or above. It rests right on top of the half line, making it shorter, between the eyes and the chin. So the bottom of the chin. So your nose sits on top of it, right? So you have to remember that. Now we'll talk about the width in a second. Now your lips, they can change sizes between people, just like your nose. So if your nose is halfway between here and here, your lips meet 1/3 of the way between here and here. So now we have to break this into 3 equal parts. This is where Miss McVeigh likes to also bring in the very easy Miss McVeigh method. So I look at this and I need to break this into 3 equal parts. So I mark little lines on here, right? And I say, okay, does this look pretty equal for thirds? I can double check it. So I'm going to say that this is about 1. I'm going to double check it here. 2, 3. So this is, I just sort of eyeballed it. 1, 2, 3. Now, if you really want to try and figure out what the numbers are on the ruler, you are welcome to. But I'm just showing you what I, as an artist, do because it's a little easier for me because I can look at something and figure out about where 1/3 is. So your lips can be any size, right? They can be really large and full and luscious, or they can be very, very thin, right? So it doesn't matter how big or thin your lips are because they meet at the same place every time. So we're going to label that so you don't forget. Your lips meet, not rest on top of, they meet 1/3 of the way between, oops, there we go, between the bottom of the nose and the chin. Now, if you've ever drawn anyone and you had trouble making the eyes be exactly the same size, this is going to blow your mind. When you look at a person, their eyes are exactly the same width as the space between their eyes. And from the edge of their head, the eye width is the same from the edge of the head. Let's do it on this side. And your head is curved, so this is hard to do on a person, but if you look at a photo, it makes it a lot easier. So this width is the same as this width, right? It's the same, I promise. And then this is the same. So you essentially have 5 eye widths across the front of your head. Now, since we used a 2.5 inch circle right here, then we can easily line up our 1.25 inch on the center point like this. And then we can very quickly do every 1/2 inch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now I have every 1/2 inch. They should be centered perfectly. And look, where do your eyes go? Every 1/2 inch. There's an eye. There's the middle of your eyes. There's an eye. There's a space next to your eyes. So your eyes are 5 eye widths across the front of your face. That's how you can always know how big to make the eyes. And if you put them on the eye line, you're going to make sure that they are always in the right space and that they're not too big or not too small. So right here, you're going to put a little arrow, put a little bit of space like that, and you're going to write, it's not a very pretty arrow, 5 eye widths. There we go. So already you can see how this face map is working, right? Now, when you are an adult and you're all finished growing up, probably after 21 years old, that's when you finish growing for certain, then your facial features are going to finish filling out, and you should have the correct proportions, so that if you need to know how wide someone's nose is going to be, in general, most people have these proportions. You can know that if you put a straight line straight down. You can use your ruler if you would like. I didn't make that line very straight. If you make your straight line straight down from the center of the eye, this, I'm doing dash lines, this is how wide your nose is going to be. Now, these lines, I want you to draw them. It's going to make your person look like a robot, but this is so that you know your nose is going to be the width of the space between your eyes. So your eye is this width, the space between your eyes is that width, and your nose is the width of the space between your eyes. So if you have a wider face, you're going to have a wider space between your eyes and a wider nose. If you have a narrow face, you're going to have a more narrow nose. And if you are not grown up yet, you have not grown into your features, so do not fear. Now here's another thing. This is the last trick for the face map, and then we're going to pause on this video. Your mouth, the very corners of your mouth, line up with the center of your eye. So if that's the center right there, then we can draw a straight dash line straight down. Dink a dink a dink a dink a dink a dink. And it's going to line up with that as the corners of your eye, your mouth. Now, your lips don't go all the way to the corners, so that's something we'll talk about next time. Your lips may be really small, but your mouth is pretty wide. So I'm going to line up the center of this one right here and draw a little dash line. And this is going to remind us when we glance at our notes, we're going to remember, because we have these robot dash lines, that the nose is the same width as the space between the eyes. And we're going to remember that the corners of the mouth line up with the center of the eyes. This is your face map. And right here I'm going to write, well, I'll put it up here, face map. At this point, you could add any features, male or female, and you can fulfill the proportions perfectly. For all of the features,